Hi, my name is Andy Knight. I am the director of the lab at SCR at South Coast Repertory, and I want to invite you to come to the Pacific Playwrights Festival May 3rd through 5th at South Coast Repertory. It's a wonderful weekend of new plays, both in stage reading formats and full productions. And if you want to know more about PPF, listen to this interview.
When did you first fall in love with theater, and why did you have to be part of the theater world?
I got involved in theater in high school. Just by really honestly, my exposure was just seeing some theater. I grew up in Chicago, and so I saw some theater in the city and just really was taken by it. And so in high school, when I was looking for extracurricular activities, I sort of found my way to auditioning for plays and getting involved in speech team. And so from there, I went on and I studied it in college. And I think that was sort of when I really decided, like, okay, I want to make this a career, and I really want to pursue theater. As not just like my livelihood, but also my career itself. And so through a little bit of a winding path, I found my way to working in theater administration and specifically literary management. And that really kind of happened post-college when I was in my mid-20s.
Theater experience, why is it such a unique format for both the audience and the actors?
Well, I think that it is a unique experience for both of those parties, specifically because they are in a space together. It is happening live in front of them, and that means that you, to an extent, can't control what happens. You can't control what the actors are going to do on stage to a point. They rehearse it, but every performance is slightly different based on the energy in the space and the energy on that stage. And you can't control how an audience is going to respond to that. And then those two things start to feed into each other. So it's a really sort of special symbiotic relationship between audiences and performers on the stage. Um, I also think that the what can potentially be the limitations of live performance in terms of, unlike a movie or a television show, you can't cut things. Any sort of special effects have to happen on that stage in real time. And so I think that the other thing that really attracts me to the theater is sort of the imagination that is required of both the theater makers. How are we going to um, create this effect or tell this story in three dimensions, but also the audience? What does it ask of an audience to suspend disbelief in certain ways, where films can be very, very real, and very often, not all theater, but some theater is sort of the antithesis of that, and it's about what isn't real, but instead what is theatrical, and what does that mean, and how does that make you feel and think, etc.
Tell us about the SCR Playwright Festival history. Why is it so important to not only South Coast Repertory, but the whole theater community in California and beyond?
Yeah, the Pacific Playwrights Festival started in 1998, so this is our 26th festival this year. We had one year where we had a festival planned, but we didn't do it because of COVID. But it has become a real pillar of South Coast Repertory's programming. We're a theater that does a lot of new work, and we produce a lot of world premiere productions on our stages. And some of those are part of the Pacific Playwrights Festival. But it's really important for us as a theater to engage with uh, playwrights and artists who work on new work. So we get to know them, get to work with them, and get to welcome them here at South Coast Repertory. And it's also a great way for us to find those new works that we're excited to share with audiences on our stages, whether they are in a reading format in the festival, or being produced in the festival, or just being produced as part of the rest of our season, even if it isn't during the festival months. And so although I try to stay away from some sort of buzzwords like pipeline. The festival is sort of a pipeline for new works at South Coast Repertory. It's not the only pipeline, but it is one of our pipelines, and it is a substantial one. And then I think for the industry as a whole, especially in this time right now where there is, theater very much feels like it's on the precipice at much of the time because of dwindling audiences and the lack of and how that kind of causes a lot of theater companies to be less risky, and new plays are inherently risky because it isn't a known commodity for people. It is a way to continue to celebrate new work and to share new work with audiences here at South Coast Repertory, but also with industry professionals from around the country. And so it remains a real national showcase of new plays as well. We have a lot of folks that come in to Orange County to attend the festival and to see the works that we're excited about here. And so it's definitely has a very deep and important place in the fabric of South Coast Repertory.
Tell us about the 2024 Pacific Playwrights Festival, the playwrights, the readings, and the full world premieres.
Yeah, so Pacific Playwrights Festival in 2024 features 7 new works, 2 full productions, and then 5 staged readings. I'll start with the 2 full productions. The first is Prelude to a Kiss, the musical, with a book by Craig Lucas, music by Daniel Massey, and then lyrics by Daniel Massey and Sean Hartley. It is an adaptation of Craig Lucas's 1988 play of the same name that premiered at South Coast Repertory back in the day, and then went on to great success on Broadway. It was a finalist for the Pulitzer, and it's performed regionally and just across the country, and has really become sort of a modern American classic. So in PPF, there is now a musical adaptation of that play. That is although it is based on the play, it is a new piece. It is a contemporary piece as opposed to a piece that was set in 1988, like the original play was. And it's a really sort of beautiful, sweeping, lush, very funny, but still slightly risky and dark musical that audiences really seem to be responding to. That's on our Segerstrom stage. And then on our Argyros stage is a play called Galilee 34 by Eleanor Burgess. That is a play that is set in 34 AD, about a year after the death of Jesus, and it follows Jesus's disciples and those close to him as they sort through what to do next and how to spread his message and what spreading his message really means, and what fundamentally his message is. It's a wonderful play that certainly looks at the history behind theology, but ultimately it is a sharp and very, very funny and moving comedy about people. It is really about a family. It is a family story. It is deeply based in character. And Eleanor, her writing is so sort of insightful, thoroughly and deeply researched, but at the same time, so sort of achingly real, and so sort of like urgent for an audience despite it being a period piece. So that's on our Ardro stage. So those are the 2 productions. And then the 5 staged readings. The first is a play called Meeting for Worship by Ana Nogueira, and that's directed by Mike Donahue. And that is a play that is set in a Quaker high school in 2003. And it looks at what happens when within the school an event occurs, and an event that has some very serious fallout, and how the fabric of the school is really tested because of it. It is a pretty expansive reading. It is a cast of 19 actors, so it's a really large group of people on that stage, and that's also an SCR commission. Second reading is a play called The Brothers Play by Arya Shahi, and that's directed by Knud Adams. Uh, that play is a much more intimate look at the relationship between two brothers and then to an extent their family as well. As one of the brothers returns back to Tucson, Arizona, where the two brothers grew up, in the face of an event that occurred to him, and how they figure out and try to sort of plan a path forward. Um, and then that evening, we have a reading, and this is a reading that's in one of our smaller spaces, so it plays throughout the weekend. A reading of a play called "You Are Cordially Invited to the End of the World" by Keiko Green, and that's directed by Zai Alakan. Um, and that tells the story of a man who is diagnosed with a terminal illness, and how he decides to live the rest of his life, and how he tries to understand what his mortality means. Keiko's play is really a kind of a celebration of existence and a celebration of the theater. And so while it seems like it tells a dramatic story, which it does, it certainly is a story with depth and stakes. It is really sort of a celebration. It's an event. It's a piece of event theater. So we're very excited to share that with audiences. And then on Saturday morning, we have a reading of a play called Fremont Ave by Reggie D. White, and that is directed by Taylor Reynolds. And that tells a story of a family. It begins with a man buying a house in suburban Southern California in the 1960s. And then he meets someone and they fall in love. And it is a story of a family across three generations, all living in that house. And it is this sort of wonderful, deeply nuanced look at people and relationships within a family and all those dynamics and all the love that's there, but at the same time, all the pain and all the hardship that comes with loving people. And so it sort of tells this beautiful multi-generational story. And then the final reading is a play called An Oxford Man by Else Went, directed by Emma Rosa Went. And it tells the story of Lawrence Michael Dillon, who was a transgender pioneer, a real life person who started working with hormone therapy back in the first part of the 20th century. Else is a stupendous writer, so imaginative, so creative. It's really a sort of a kaleidoscopic play that's told in so many different ways. At times, it's like Oscar Wilde. At times, it's this wonderful Bildungsroman that's almost like a fairy tale. At times, it's very intimate and sincere. And so it's really going to take audiences on a journey. So it's a very exciting way to end the festival. I would say that overall, it is a presents a wide range of plays. No two plays are really alike in how they share their stories with the world, and also what the content of their stories is. So on Sunday morning at 9 a.m., we have a playwrights panel that will be on our Segerstrom stage. And we will have most, if not all, of the playwrights who are involved in the festival on that panel, and that will be moderated by SCR's Artistic and Engagement Associate H. Adam Harris. And so the playwrights will all talk a little bit about the inspiration behind their plays, their process, what it has meant to go through PPF and what they learned during that process. And then we'll, of course, also leave some time for audience questions too.
What do you want the theater participants to get out of the Pacific Playwrights Festival, both the local community and also the theater pros who attend?
Yeah, first of all, honestly, I would love for them to have fun and have a good time, and to see some good theater. I think that's really the heart of the festival, from an audience standpoint. Part of how we hope to program the festival is you're not going to see two things that are really alike. We want you to have a wide-ranging experience. For our local audiences, Orange County audiences here, I hope that it invites them to be part of the new play process with South Coast Repertory, to share what excited them and what resonated with them. both within the plays and also within the festival experience overall, and then also to share, their questions, the things that they weren't sure about, because it's always wonderful to essentially be able to provide sort of through some of these readings like a sneak peek of what might come on our stages at a future time. And then for the industry professionals, once again, first and foremost, we want them to have a great time and to see some great theater. But we also hope to introduce them to some new writers that they might know, some writers they will know, and also to introduce them to some new plays that might excite them and they might want to bring to their theaters.
Talk about how both the world premieres actually were readings at one time. So just tell me about that process and how exciting that you're seeing a full production of it.
Yeah, that's this year's a really good example of sort of how the trajectory of plays in PPF can be very different. So, Prelude to a Kiss is a piece that South Coast Repertory commissioned. The musical adaptation is something that we commissioned, gosh, back in something like 2016, about 8 years ago now. And then we first read it. We did a concert reading in the Pacific Playwrights Festival in 2019. I can say that at that time the bones of the musical were there. A lot of the stuff that has ended up in the final version of the musical was there, but some of the stuff that's in the musical now wasn't there. They were still very actively working on building the musical at that time, and so it prevented a little bit more of a sneak peek of what the musical could potentially be in 2019. And then out of that, we continued to develop the piece through a series of workshops over the years. Some of that was stymied by the pandemic. We would have produced this musical sooner than 2024 had the pandemic not occurred. And then even as we came through the pandemic and we're meeting in person again and producing again, there were, a few workshops that were canceled or postponed because of COVID. So it's a big group. A musical takes a lot of people to build, and so you're going to have to gather all those people in a room, and you're going to have to bring all those people together. So, but it's still a good example of a play that comes through the festival as a reading into full production is not always an immediate thing. It can take years. It depends on a variety of things, what the artists are up to in terms of what their schedules are like, what South Coast Repertory has on its stages, the further development in between. All of those factors have a bearing on when something ends up on SCR stages. But Galilee's sort of the opposite of that. So Galilee, we read in the 2023 Pacific Playwrights Festival. So pretty much right around a year ago now was when we heard the play out loud for the first time, and we were just so enchanted by the piece coming through the festival, and so excited by the kind of galvanized audience response to it, that we knew that we had this slot in our season this year, and that Galilee felt like the perfect fit for it. So that play has had a subsequent workshop after PPF. We did a workshop in the early winter in January of this year. And so which gave Eleanor and the director Davis McCallum time to work on the piece and to continue developing it from a writing standpoint, but to also meet with the designers and to start thinking about what this play is going to look like in 3 dimensions. And then here we are in rehearsal, in tech rehearsal now. So that had a pretty quick journey from festival to production. I will say that we have some great casts this year. We have some wonderful, wonderful actors in Prelude to a Kiss from all over the country who do quite a bit of musical theater across the country. Many of them do work on and off Broadway in New York. Our cast of Galilee 34 is also stupendous. It's a great group of actors from both New York and LA. Amy Brenneman, who many audiences know, is playing Miriam in our production of Galilee 34, and she's absolutely wonderful. And then our PPF casts are going to be really, really exciting too. It is probably, I don't know if ever is the correct word, but it is one of the largest sort of groups of actors that we've had in the Pacific Playwrights Festival in a long, long time. Because we've got some plays that have a large scope, and so it's a really exciting group of actors, and there are going to be a lot of talented performers on campus here.
What are you looking forward to during the festival and afterwards? What are you personally looking forward, and also the person in charge of it looking forward to?
I mean, I think as the as the person who's running the festival, I'm hoping that uh, I'm looking forward to, having a bunch of artists here working on their new plays and collaborating together with teams. And some of these people are going to be hearing their plays in front of an audience for the very first time. And so I'm really looking forward to experiencing it with them, because it's always just such a wonderful moment to see a new play that has not been out in the world before in front of a pretty robust audience. So that's always sort of my favorite part of the festival. And then honestly, I'm looking forward to every piece in the festival this year. I certainly would never play favorites as the person who runs the festival, but I can very genuinely say that I'm always very seriously excited about all the pieces in the festival. I think that they all present something so different, and so I'm excited to walk into all of those rooms or all of those theaters when those performances are happening.
One thing I should ask, I know there always, when you go into the readings, there's a little paper that's given like a questionnaire or something like that. Talk about that, and why do the playwrights look forward to this feedback?
As a part of the readings, especially this is mostly for the play readings themselves, the pieces that are in development. On the back of the program, there's a link to an audience feedback form, and that audience feedback form link is also emailed in our thank you emails. And that is a questionnaire that allows audience members to provide feedback on what they experienced, what resonated with them, where did they have questions, did they ever get it ahead of the plot at a certain point, and what did that make them feel to get ahead of the plot? What did it make them feel when they were confused? What did that experience mean to them? And by sharing that feedback, that then South Coast Repertory has an opportunity to share with the playwright is allowed to continue working on the piece based on hearing what an audience experienced. Because very often, some playwrights are going into this being like, I've never heard this in front of an audience before. I just have no idea what people will think. And that is useful for them to hear. Other playwrights are like, I've heard this in front of an audience before, and I would be really interested to know, these very specific questions. What did you think this character was doing? Or what did you think was happening during this moment? And me as the writer getting that feedback from an audience will help shape what I do next.
Why must or should the Orange County and SoCal Theater and anybody around the country attend the Pacific Playwright Festival at South Coast Repertory now?
I think that folks should attend the Pacific Playwrights Festival because I think that they'll have a really good time. It's a very celebratory atmosphere. It's a really sort of exciting endeavor. Um, I think that a lot of people aren't sure about attending staged readings because, it's music stands and people reading scripts. Um, and my answer to that would be, you have no idea how much fun you can have when you can let your imagination run wild and just see what this play might look like in three dimensions in your mind's eye. And so I encourage you to just try it out because it is usually a lot more fun than than you think it would be. Um, and I would encourage people I would say that people should come to the festival because it's there's nothing like the sort of exhausting experience of seeing seven plays in a row, it really does challenge you. It asks a lot of you to come and see that much theater all at once. But I think that when you leave the experience, you really feel full. You feel very tired, but you feel very full, and you have a lot spinning around in your head, and it's an incredibly kind of satisfying exhaustion. Um, and then I would say that the reason people must come to the Pacific Playwrights Festival is because now more than ever we need people to support live theater and to keep it alive and to keep it vibrant.
Well, add on to that, whether they come to the festival or one of the SCR plays, why is live theater so good for the soul?
Live theater is so good for the soul because I think that this just harkens back to my earlier answer of the live experience means that you're also in community. And I think that being in community is more important than ever now for a variety of reasons. Certainly the pandemic, but even less than that, I think that we're fairly fractured as a society right now. And so to sit next to someone that you don't know what their experience is, you don't know what they're thinking about, you don't know how they're going to acclimate to the play, and to experience something shared together is really more important than ever. And that's why live theater is so important to the soul.
Tell us about the lab SCR, all the play development programs and commissions that provides a channel either to Pacific Playwrights or to on or your stage or others. So tell us about all these great commissions that SCR offers.
Mhm. So the Lab at SCR is sort of the umbrella term for all the new play program activities at South Coast Repertory, which include certainly the productions on our stages, but also the workshop and development that we do and the commissions that we offer. So looking at our commissioning program, commissioning is when you offer a playwright remuneration to write a play for South Coast Repertory. And so we have about 50 or so, a little more than 50 active commissions at South Coast Repertory right now, many of which have or will end up on our stages or in the Pacific Playwrights Festival at some point over the years. Like I said, Ana Nogueira's play Meeting for Worship this year is a South Coast Repertory commission. And then Prelude to a Kiss, the musical, was also commissioned by South Coast Repertory. So that these commissions very frequently end up on our stages, and through the process of commissioning, we hope to support the playwright, in part literally with the compensation that we offer, but also giving them a place to think about writing a new play for and engaging with us on that new play, from the point of inspiration, from the sort of genesis of that piece. Looking at our new play development activities, we have a series of in-house workshops, in-house meaning workshops without an audience. And through the workshop process, it just gives the playwright, a director, a cast, and a creative team some time to spend together to experience the play, to hear it out loud, to discuss that play, to try new things, to find what's really working and find what isn't working, to take big swings and fail, or to take big swings and succeed. And so through that sort of private space, that space that you're not sharing it with an audience, it lets you to really, get into the weeds with the new play. And then we have our public workshops, which are our workshops that culminate in a public reading for audiences. That's our New Scripts reading series, which is a Monday night reading series that happens throughout the season at South Coast Repertory. That is the culmination of a 3 to 4 day workshop. And then we share that with an audience, and our Pacific Playwrights Festival, which is the culmination of a 4 day workshop that then the plays are read in front of a fairly robust audience, in that sort of celebratory weekend of new work. And then we have a variety of other things that we occasionally will do writing retreats for playwrights, especially commissioned playwrights, if they need that time and space away. And sometimes it's just about supporting the playwright in less conventional ways than just like write a play for us and then develop said play.
What would you tell other playwrights, actors, and directors why they should get involved with South Coast Repertory and support your theater?
I mean, I would. We love artists here. We try to be as artist forward as we can, and we hope to create a sandbox where, especially if you're creating new work, you can really come and play and experiment, and hopefully um, find something really exciting. And that's certainly our goal here at South Coast Repertory is to create that sandbox for you.
And as you know, the cost of a theater production isn't just the tickets people buying tickets doesn't pay for the whole production. Why are theaters like the South Coast Repertory so important and truly needs the community's help and support in many ways?
Yeah, as a nonprofit theater, we do rely on donations in addition to the ticket sales that we have here. And what that allows us to do is that allows us to take some risk. That we're not a commercial entity. We're not looking to stay afloat just based on the commercial success of a production. So that allows us to produce a wide range of work and to be more adventurous in what we're producing and why we're producing it, and it allows us to sort of share our passions with audience more than share just sure thing hits. And so having that support through donations and grants, etc., really allows us to stay afloat as we present a diversity of works. We offer subscriptions for audiences, which allow you to sort of create your own experience at the theater, and see multiple plays across the season. And it's a great way to try. The subscription model is a great way to try something new because you can buy a bunch of tickets at one time and not necessarily know what you're going to see, as opposed to just buying individual tickets and saying, okay, this is something that I'm sure will interest me. Therefore, I'm going to buy a ticket now right before I go next week. If you buy a subscription, you'll have all your tickets ahead of time. You can choose the seats that you want. And it also lets you challenge yourself. It lets you say, I'm not sure if I'm going to like this. I'm not sure what this is. I'm not sure if I'm interested in it, but I'm going to try it. And some of the time you won't be interested, and your suspicions will be confirmed, but I think you can also find a real diamond through a subscription model, and you can find something that you never imagined that would be so exciting to you. And that's because you sort of took the chance to just try something new. My name is Andy Knight. I'm the director of the lab at SCR at South Coast Repertory, and I want to invite you to come to the Pacific Playwrights Festival May 3rd through 5th at South Coast Repertory. It's a wonderful weekend of new plays, both in stage reading formats and full productions. It is a place to celebrate new theater. It is a place to celebrate new American playwriting. It is a place to see what artists are thinking about today and what will happen next on the stages of the American theater. So I encourage you to come and be one of the people that sees it first.